guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Harim. So today I just wanted to share my first study abroad experience, which took place when I was 15. I went to this little city called Wanganui in the North Island of New Zealand.
That's one of the ferries that takes you to the South Island.
If you would like to join me, I'll talk a lot about the school life in New Zealand, as well as how I first got to the school and what my experience was like. So in March 2015, I was able to find this school in a very quiet city and just go there. Before that, I really wanted to go to the United States, but that never happened because my English was really bad at the time, so every time I took the exam to go study, I always failed. So that was part of where my insecurity came in when it came to speaking in English, which I think I have overcome over those years, but I'll be talking more about that later on. I was 15 at the time. I had just graduated from middle school. All my friends from Korea were going to high schools in my city.
저는 지금 스타벅스에 있습니다. 자, 여러분들
where they were gonna be studying for like 15 hours a day. I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to do other things other than just studying. So that's when I told my family I really want to go study outside my country. But unfortunately, they couldn't afford the expensive education in America, and I didn't have enough English skills, so it was a good stepping stone for me to just go to an English-speaking country with a reasonable price. My family spent about like under 20,000 New Zealand dollars, which was pretty cheap for studying abroad. So I got there, my host family came to the airport to welcome me, which was very nice. And my host sister, who was also an international student from Japan, was very outgoing and a friendly person, so she invited me to go to this birthday party that her friend was having. So I got to go there and make a few friends on my first day. I was very jet lagged. I had never been to a party before, so it was all new for me, but also very exciting. To tell you guys a little bit about the school that I went in New Zealand, first of all, it was very big. I'm not talking about how many students there were. The school itself was so big. Like the field was like double the size of a regular football stadium. And there were so many different buildings across the campus, so it was more like a college. And there were lots of cool classes that I wasn't able to take before. For example, there was this clothes making class. It was called textiles. I was able to try making my own clothes. Some people were making ball dresses. It was super cool. I really enjoyed that class, and there were a bunch of sewing machines in the class that I was able to use even during the breaks, even during my free time. That's when I first found my passion for making clothes. That's how I got this sewing machine at home. I think something just fell. So yeah, I was able to try out a bunch of things that I never got to do before. Partying, you know, just meeting people from all over the world. So that was one thing that I really liked about living in New Zealand. People were very laid back. I feel like when I think about New Zealand, I associate the country with like a field full of shit. Like it's just so calm and everyone's so relaxed. They're not really competitive. They don't have to try hard, I guess. So in my school, I was like one of the only people who wanted to study and challenge myself. So that kind of became an issue. Not a lot of my friends were there to gain something out of the high school experience. They were just there to just hang out with friends. I guess get the basic education out of the way, but nothing more than that. The classes weren't that challenging, and a lot of my friends wanted to go into like a vocational school. They were practicing what they wanted to do, but not really focusing on all the academics in school. And another issue that I faced was some kind of racism, more of a segregation that I felt when I was going to school there. The director for international students was a very racist person. He always thought my English was so bad. Before he first talked to me, he put me in this ESL class that was full of people who looked like me. I didn't even get a chance to take an exam. I was just there with other fellow international students who clearly spoke better English than the director himself actually. He was a European. It was really weird. Like, he always wanted to segregate the Asians from the rest of the international student body, so I really didn't like that. Also, like, starting off of that, it was really hard for me to be able to talk to the students there who spoke English as their first language, because I always had this insecurity that I was gonna mess something up when I spoke English to someone and they would think that I was dumb. I know now, looking back at those videos that I filmed when I was in high school, that my English wasn't that bad. Later on, I actually made some friends with the Kiwis, the Maoris. I wish I knew that back then, so I wouldn't have been so tough on myself. But one thing I really liked was that I got to build connections with people from all over the world, because it was such a big, diverse school. The school itself had so many other international students from Europe mostly, but from Asia as well. So being able to visit the friends that I made back in New Zealand, in lots of different countries all around the world, felt like such an advantage. 2 years ago actually, I was able to visit 5 of my friends from Germany all together in different cities, and that trip was one of my favorite trips ever. So it was really good in a way that I could build those deep connections just because we were all in the same shoes. And of course the scenery was gorgeous. I could travel to different parts of New Zealand and see such wonderful things. I got to swim with the dolphins at one point. I was on a private jet looking down the mountains, the icebergs. Was it the icebergs? I don't know. But it was all amazing, except for the fact that if you don't drive in New Zealand, you'll have a very hard time. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a license or anything. I was 15, 16 at the time, and there weren't any public transportation. So if I really wanted to go somewhere, I would have to walk everywhere. That's what a lot of people did. They would walk 40, 50 minutes going to school. Coming back to school, that would be another 40 to 50 minutes. So it was a lot of walking, but I guess it made everyone healthy. I don't know if I said this already, but my first host family was so mean. They wouldn't let me put 2 slices of cheese in my sandwich for lunch instead of 1. And they would get so mad at me. So every time I walked back to my house from my school, which was like a 40-minute walk, I would get a sandwich that was like this big, and I would just eat it so much on my way there, and I gained about 20 pounds during my time in New Zealand, but that was just from stress. But when I was walking with that sandwich, a lot of people on the streets talked to me, they said hi to me. So one other thing that I really loved about New Zealand was that everyone was so welcoming and friendly regardless of where you're from. So if you're just walking down the streets in my city, people would always say hi to you and try to start a conversation with you. And my city in general was so tiny, like there wasn't much to do. All they had was this little cinema and a tiny mall, and like that's it back then. I don't think they had any fashion brands. New Zealand, I think overall was a very good experience for me, but I had to move on, so that's when I decided I couldn't be there anymore and moved to New York. So in my next video, I'll be talking about how I went to New York and what my experience was like, and I actually went to a public school and a private school in New York, so I can compare those two for you guys. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you guys join me for my next video as well. So please like, comment, and subscribe my channel. I still don't know how to do this, but I hope it was helpful, and I really wish I could go back in time, be a more outgoing person who tried to make more out of the experience, but no regrets. The past is in the past, But yeah, if you're watching this and you're currently in New Zealand not knowing what to do, feel free to message me on Instagram maybe. Leave any questions you guys have in the comments, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks for joining me today. Bye!